Once upon a time, there lived a king with 5 beautiful daughters. The youngest was much smaller than the other daughters and was often left to play alone. The lonely little princess entertained herself with a ball of pure gold. She played with the ball constantly. She threw it and caught it, rolled it and kicked it, wishing she had someone to play with. One day, the princess brought her ball to the pond behind the castle. As she tossed the ball up, she became distracted by a beautiful bird, and the ball dropped, splash, into the lake. The princess began to cry. "Why are you crying, beautiful girl?" a voice said from behind the princess. The princess turned around to find a little green frog looking back at her. "I lost my ball," sobbed the princess. "Oh, don't cry, princess. I can get your ball for you. But what will you give me in return?" The princess stopped crying at once. "Oh, thank you, little frog. I will give you anything you want, my jewels, my clothes, even the gold crown on my head." "None of these things matter to a little frog like me. All that I ask in return is that you allow me to become your friend. Invite me to dinner, let me sleep at the castle, and let me join in your games," replied the frog. "Of course, anything!" cried the princess, and the frog dove into the pond in search of the golden ball. While the frog swam deeper and deeper, the princess began to think about the promise she had just made. How crazy that a frog would want to be loved by a princess like me. He is just a frog. He can't eat at the royal table or sleep in the castle with me. The frog quickly appeared again with the golden ball in his little webbed hands. "Here you go, princess, as I promised." The princess grabbed the ball and ran back to the castle. Later that evening, the princess joined her father, the king, and the rest of her sisters in the royal dining room. Just as dinner was served, the princess heard a knock. She opened the door to find the frog at the steps. "Hello, sweet princess," the frog said, as the princess slammed the door in his face. The king heard the door slam and ran to see what was going on. "Who is at the door?" asked the king. "It is a slimy frog," responded the princess. She then explained to her father what had happened by the pond. "My sweet daughter, you must live up to your promises. The frog returned your ball. You must invite him in," replied the king as he opened the door for the frog. The princess knew she could not disobey her father and invited the frog in. The princess barely touched her food. How could she eat while sitting next to a slimy frog? The frog, however, enjoyed every bite. Once he was finished, he said, "Thank you for the wonderful meal. Now I am tired. Princess, please carry me up to your room. It is time for us to go to bed." The princess held her breath and carried the frog up to her bedroom to sleep. The frog returned to the castle every night that week. Slowly the princess grew to enjoy his company. She began to play games with him and laugh before bed. On the 7th night, the princess again fell asleep with the frog on her pillow. Only, when she woke up, he was nowhere to be found. Instead, a handsome prince lay next to her. The startled princess woke the prince. He explained that he was turned into a frog by an evil witch, and that it was the princess's kindness over the last week that broke the spell. The princess could not have been happier. The two were married right away and lived happily ever after.